announcing new products at its annual Connect Developers Conference. The Quest 3 VR headset adding artificial intelligence features to its social media apps, also unveiling the Ray-Ban smart glasses. And joining us right now for more on this is Toney, Plexo Capital founding managing partner and a CNBC contributor. He's a private market investor, but Lo, obviously you pay a lot of attention to what's happening in the public markets too. What did you think about what you heard from Meta yesterday?
Well, it was really interesting just to see the continued push towards the virtual reality, mixed reality, because if we think about it, Meta is in a position somewhat similar to Google, Alphabet. They need to make sure that they have future products that can drive revenue. But I think the difference between the two, when you look at the new products that Meta is going after, which are really all in on virtual reality, and then you look at some of the other bets of Google, I mean, Meta is spending $15.7 billion, right, over the past 12 months that ended this past June, which is about 35% of their operating profit, compared to what Alphabet is spending on its other bets, which is only about 7% of their operating profit. So it really shows the importance. And I think it also reflects the fact that when we think about the core products for Meta, Facebook, Instagram, I mean, there's attrition happening there. You know, a lot of the younger users are migrating over to other platforms like TikTok.
Sure.
So I think Meta's taking this very seriously, which is why we continue to see the push.
Because they need to make sure that they have the ad revenue that comes along with having those younger viewers rather than seeing that migrate off the platform too.
And I think that's a very good point. And that's a very subtle point that maybe sometimes get missed in these announcements. I think people look at the glitz and the glamour of the headset, looking at the AI chatbots, having Snoop in there. But if we really think about a lot of it, it's back to your point on ad revenue. Why are they introducing these AI chatbots? I mean, unlike a business like Microsoft, which might focus more on the enterprise needs around AI, the chatbots from Meta, I think, ultimately are geared towards entertainment.
Which is why you have the celebrity chatbots.
Exactly. They're trying to engage users to keep them on the platform to deliver more ads.
Okay, so let's talk about whether you think the major investments that they've made are worth it. Chatbots with celebrities. Does that make sense? Is it something that attracts the younger population?
I mean, we'll see. They really need to scale because, again, if we look at this time period of the past 12 months ending June, these new AI and mixed reality products only generated about 1.5% of the revenue. So they've got a long way to go. I think the hook is there in terms of getting people's attention, but we'll just have to see. You know, consumers are very fickle.
Yeah, Google Glass never really took off. The Ray-Ban glasses, you think that's a different story?
You know, so we have to go back a decade, right, for Google Glass. Part of the problem was the price point, $1,500 for Google Glass.
And they were kind of ugly.
And right. I think the Ray-Bans, we'll see. I think it's a better opportunity right now. Sometimes new product launches are about timing.
But is the Ray-Ban glass the equivalent, or could it ever be the equivalent of the Apple Watch? Meaning, could it actually become part of everybody's life? Everyone's got a pair of sunglasses. They've got the cameras and the glasses. They're powered by, effectively, Facebook or Meta, if you will. In this case, by the way, they're partnering with Ray-Ban, so there's some margin that they're giving up because they're not manufacturing them themselves as well.
That's right. We continually wait for this next device paradigm shift. Right? AI is the software paradigm shift for the new platform, but we continue to wait to see what is that new hardware platform. Will it be this? I don't know. I don't know if I could see my mom ever putting on a pair of Ray-Ban glasses and pointing at objects and asking the AI chatbot about them, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see.
I know that you're not either a buyer of this stock or a seller of this stock. What would be the tipping point, though, that would make you say, okay, this makes sense as an investment?
It's really tricky. I think there are so many other opportunities out there. If one was looking for an ability to ride on the AI bandwagon, I think there's some other plays that are a little bit more pure and don't have to go back to this fickleness of the consumer to make or break the company. You know, I think, look, there are very smart people at Meta. And they are very determined to figure it out, as evident by the over $15 billion that they're spending. We'll have to wait and see. But I think from an investor's point of view, there are a lot of other names if one were looking to be able to go after some of these new trends that we're seeing in the new platform shifts with AI.
Like what?
I would look at Microsoft and Alphabet. I mean, I think those are logical. NVIDIA is always going to be one of the plays. It might be a little bit overpriced right now. But I think long term, if an investor is looking long term, all of these plays are going to make sense because of all of the necessary components, the platform, the hardware, the software, right? I think all of those things are very important. And then thinking about the use cases where people can actually profitably make money.
Really quickly, if TikTok was banned in the United States, would Facebook be the biggest, or Meta be the biggest beneficiary of that?
For now,
For now.
yes.